four, three. Hey, welcome back, everyone, here to Veteran Nation, and I'm really excited about the guest that we have on. He has his own organization. His name is Ron Zaleski, and his organization has a really cool story. He has a cool story on how everything came about. His organization is called thelongwalkhome.org, all spelled out. And Ron, welcome. Appreciate you being in here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Now, you are a Marine Corps veteran, correct?
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about your service, when you came in, what type of things you experienced.
Okay. You know, most people have this image that when a guy goes in, he goes in, you know, to serve God and his country. And I got my draft notice in 1969, because back then they had the draft lottery. So my number was 34. And there was no way I was going to go in, because I had been in the Merchant Marines for a year before I went in the Marine Corps. And, you know, when you're a kid, you believe everything they tell you. And I'm on the freighter, and we're delivering military equipment to the Arabs. And we had signed a peace treaty with the Jews. And I'm saying to the guys on the ship, how can we do this? Give weapons to the enemies of our friends. And they all laughed at me and said it's about money. And they would tell me about their trips when they took stuff to Vietnam, and they would shoot at one another to get hazardous duty pay so they would make more money. And that's when I started to have doubts about what the truth was and what they tell you. And so when I got my draft notice, I had a buddy that I grew up with since 6. We're both Polish, so we both made a lot of same mistakes. So he says, I'm going to go in the Marines. The Marines is the only branch that will take me because I have a record. He got caught and I didn't. And I said, I'm not going till the FBI take me. And so he said, you know, he kept at me. He says, oh, we're going to go anyway. And what's the difference? And I figured, what's the difference between the Marines and Army? And, you know, my father was a World War II vet. So I got beat physically or verbally every day. And he was a big guy. And I figured, you know, what a great way to get back at my parents, that passive aggressive stuff you do when you're a kid. So I go in, and I'll never forget it. You know, so I tell my buddy, Tony, yeah, I'll go in with you. And I go signed up, and he hadn't signed up yet. And I said, you better go sign up, pal, because I'm already in. So, and then I tell my parents, I go home, and I'll never forget it. My mother was sitting down, my father was standing up, and I said, I'm going in the Marines. My mother said, why are you going in? You don't even believe in killing. What are you going in for? I says, well, I want to experience everything. It must be all right if the church allows it, because we're real Catholic. I said, well, it must be all right if the church allows it, and I want to experience everything, killing another person. And my mother cried, and I wished I could have taken that back. And then I felt like a stone inside of me, you know, and then my father looked at me like he knew something he wasn't going to tell me. And then I left, and I go in the Marines, and we're taking a bus. You know, you don't sleep the first day before you go in because you're partying. I mean, we did anyway. So we didn't sleep the day. Then we're on the bus and getting there, and then they keep you awake for another day to help break you down. And we're driving in there, and all I see is weapons and soldiers. And it really kind of dawns on me, we really do kill people. You know, it's not like a TV show. You know, a TV show, how they make you think everything is cool, like John Wayne and stuff. It's not like that. So, you know, so I go in, and I had an attitude in boot camp. So I got sent to motivation. So that those of you guys that are Marines that might have went to motivation, that's, you know, it's an experience in itself. And then I get to my first duty station, and I get into a fight with my commanding officer. I didn't show up for an inspection because I figured, you know, I'm not going to some inspection. So I was doing my laundry. So the commander went to the laundry room looking for me. And he said to me, he says, Zaleski, you and I are going to have a bloody fight, and you're going to lose. And I says, oh, really? So I'm on my duty station. I was guarding nuclear weapons, nuclear missiles, and that duty station, you're armed and you have your weapon drawn. We had a 45. My 45 is supposed to be drawn and out whenever anybody comes on, because I knew all the rules and everything. So
Mhm.
when my commanding officer came in, I had my, I pulled out my weapon and had it close to his head, and I'm smiling because it didn't say where I was supposed to point it. So, and I was, really happy with myself, and here's this guy sweating. I mean, could actually see this guy sweating, and he's looking at me nervous. And I had a lot of issues with authority figures before I even went in. So, I was really proud of myself, and I was really happy about that whole scene. 2 weeks later, I get orders to go to Vietnam. And he invites me into his office before I go, because I want to talk to everybody before they go on leave. And they said to me, he says, "What do you think of that, Zaleski?" And I says, "I think the only way you're going to get me over there is if you chain me to a helicopter, because I'm not going." He says, "Is that right?" I said, "That's right." Because I figured he did this to me intentionally,
Mhm.
but I had orders with 5 other guys who were supposed to go with me, right? And we talked, and his son was my age and was going in the Merchant Marines. He says, "Well, going in the Merchant Marines make a man of my son." And I said, "If he's not a man when he goes in, he won't be one when he gets out. It's who you are." So I didn't think too much of it. And I don't want to tell my parents, because I heard them enough. And the last thing I want to do is tell them I'm going to go into combat. And I really don't believe in killing. I believe,
Mhm.
you just don't do it. I mean, that's the way I was raised, our whole society. So I get home, I don't tell my parents. I just say, "Oh, I'm going to a duty station in California." And I get down on my knees and I pray and I says, "God help me, because I don't think I have the courage not to shoot another man. I'm afraid and I want to live." And because I figure if I go, I think I might be so afraid that I'm going to kill people because I want to live. But if I don't kill people, pretty good chance I'm going to die, and other people are going to die because of me. So I
Mhm.
decided I'm not going to run to Canada, because a lot of guys were doing that. I decided I'm going to go and face the consequences, whether it's 5 years in prison or a firing squad. And I hope to God it wasn't a firing squad, because I thought that's pretty ironic to not want to fight and kill somebody and then get shot, home. So when I get to, when they ship you out, staging, the 5 guys that I knew went before me and they all went. When it came my turn, I said, "I'm not going." And the guy said, "Don't worry, your orders have been changed, you coward." So I was like relieved, and, a lot of confusing things, because, you're 19. And,
Mhm.
so I was just happy then and I didn't think of them or anything. I was just thinking about me, and that I dodged that. And so I go through my whole tour there with an attitude. A month before I get out, I meet one of the 5 guys, and he's limping. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "We all got shot and 2 are dead." So I had this whole flood of, like, anger, guilt, shame, all of that stuff at once. Because did I do the right thing? Should I have gone? Would I have been able to save him? So, I carried all that anger and guilt. And when I got out, they treated us like monsters. I remember coming home, I'm wearing part of my uniform, because I made my own uniform to get out in. I had this whole thing I had done. And I'm on the train going home, and I hear the train car is full of people, and I hear nobody's looking at me. Nobody will make eye contact with me, and I hear guys say, "Baby killer," under his breath. And I was furious, and I yelled out, "Who said that?" Because they don't even know me. They don't know what I went through, what I
Mhm.
did, what my friends went through, that, went along because of peer pressure, or because maybe it was the right thing to do or not. So I was furious. And it really made an impact on me. So I was angry for a long time, and I was angry at our whole country and the military because, it felt like we got talked into going, lied to, and then after we come home, now we're monsters, and you're the ones that sent us over there. There's a lot of angry, there's still a lot of angry guys. I was angry for 33 years. But when I got out, being the Polak that I am and the attitude towards authority and stuff, I decided not to wear shoes. And it was my memorial for my friends that died. But when anybody asked me, how come I don't wear shoes? I'd say, I don't feel like it. You got a problem with that? And then I realized after 33 years that I had a meaningless, a memorial, a meaningless penance. It helped no one. And it was just my anger. And I was just being defiant and just angry. But that's how I showed it. And what happened was, so I stopped wearing shoes in 1972. The World Trade Center went down. I never watched the television of it, the televisation of it, till a year later, because the verbiage really upset me when they decided they're going to go to war, and they said, we've tried every alternative, and this is our only recourse. And I heard the same verbiage back in the Vietnam era, and it just infuriated me. And when I had been going through a lot of changes because I wanted to be a better person, because I was an angry person. And I did things to change, to stop being the victim, because I blamed everybody for everything. And so what happened with that was it was unacceptable to me that they would do that again to kids, because now I'm old enough that they're my sons. So now it just, because I have two sons, and the last thing I want them to go is for something that somebody made up, or real or imagined. I don't have the intel to make any decision whether we should be at war or not. But from what I've seen, I think there's other ways, and I believe in, my country and defending it. But to me, there's got to be a better way. I mean, we're supposedly the smartest thing on the planet, but we still eat our children alive for a can of gas. That just doesn't work for me, and that's my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's what my friends died for. But so what happened was, because of that 9/11, it was just unacceptable, and I could not sit on my hands because I just was angry for 33 years. Nobody even knew I was a Marine, and I did nothing to stop it. And now here's my chance to do something. So that's when I decided to walk, because I found out back then it was 18 a day died from suicide. And to me, that's unacceptable. And this war was unacceptable. And I had to do something. I couldn't live with myself and do nothing. So, so then I did the Appalachian Trail barefoot to bring awareness for post-traumatic stress. And I shut down my business and everything. I mean, I was totally devoted. There was no plan B for me. There was only, I'm going to do this, So what happened, though, when I did the walk, I found out that like a third of the people that hiked the trail are veterans trying to find their way back home. Because, most of us come home for a visit. We don't live here anymore. This isn't our home anymore. So I met a lot of guys out there, and them working to make that transition back, because we have, people talk about post-traumatic stress. If you're a human being, you have post-traumatic stress. I don't care. If you're a rock or a chair, nothing bothers you, so you don't have post-traumatic stress. So, that term didn't really sit well for me, because they made it like, it's only a condition we have, and we're broken. No, we're not broken. We're broken if we don't have post-traumatic stress, because then we're saying there's something really wrong with us if that doesn't affect us. So when I walked the trail, it ended up, I did create awareness, but it ended up being my penance to forgive myself for sitting on my hands for 33 years. And I got people to write their congressmen and their senators, but nothing seemed to change. So then, I would continue, after I finished the trail, I continued to walk with a sign. I'd walk 5 days a week with a sign. I made up 18 vets a day commit suicide. And then I was taking care of my parents at the time in Florida. And when my father died, I didn't have to stay there and take care of him. So then I decided what I did wasn't enough. So then I took that sign and a petition, because I know, awareness is no good unless you have a plan. A plan is no good unless it's instituted. And getting it instituted doesn't mean anything unless you get people to do it. So I realized when I walked, all I did was create awareness. But then when I walked across the country, I had a petition that I had people sign. And at the end of my walk, I brought it to Washington, because I figured, well, then we can get a law instituted, because we had 3 points on it. Mandatory counseling for all military personnel prior to discharge. We had they were going to have in boot camp, they were going to get a grieving counseling before, so they knew the 5 stages of grief, so they would be prepared for it the best they could, and to know that they're not crazy. And then support groups available for them after they got out, which they have a lot of now. And I thought, that would be good, but nothing seemed to happen. So then when I walked across the country, that was another lesson for me, because then I learned why nothing was ever done. Because, I thought it'd be like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, how in a year they got it, laws passed and people don't drink and drive and you go to jail. But the reason nothing happens with this, because every mother I met a mother every day, or a parent or a sibling, and they all told me the same thing. It's my fault. He told me I didn't believe him. I should have known. It's my fault. They all said that. It was like their mantra. So nothing was ever done about it, because they took on all the blame. They didn't blame the country. They didn't blame the politicians. They didn't blame anybody but themselves. I cried every day for 10 and a half months, as I would hold the mother, and she would hold me like I was her son that she lost. It was brutal, but I couldn't stop. How do you tell a mother, oh, I'm too tired, my feet hurt, they lost their son. So I went to Washington with this petition. And it was like I talked to a brick wall, because there was just so much politics in it. It had nothing to do with helping the soldiers. It's like, who's going to get their way and whose side is right, and money. Is it going to cost us this? And I cried when I left there. But then I realized that I had it wrong, because I went there to tell them what to do. Well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And they know what they should do. They don't need me to tell them. I think, I had an epiphany. I know something they don't know. They knew it. So what I realized when I went to Washington is that I do it. Then I go to them and ask for help, then give them the credit for doing it. Then I'll get their help. So when I left there, we opened up a shelter in the Keys, a homeless shelter for veterans. And, I thought, I'm going to change lives. I'm Polish, so I learned the hard way. I think, I know what I'm doing. No, you have no clue what you're doing, Zaleski. So I'm there, and basically I enabled a lot of drunks in the Keys to keep drinking and have a safe place to be at night and not be harassed by cops. And when I shut the place down, because my mother had died and I was going under a lot of stress and trying to run that and raise money to keep it all going, I closed it down. A lot of drunks were angry with me, because now they don't have an easy place to do, and somebody helped make it easy for them to get drunk and not get in trouble. So what happened, so after that, I learned, like I said, the difference between helping and enabling. Then we started a mentorship program, and that happened because of the corona. Because before I would go out individually, help people, and get them counseling or, whatever they needed. They need money for rent, they need, food, whatever it was, we would help. It doesn't matter who it was, what it was, and where it was, we could help. So the corona hit, and then, I couldn't go out and do things like that. So I have one of my vices, I have many, but one of them is eating ice cream. So I go to an ice cream parlor, and the guy serving the ice cream to me, because I talk with everybody, and we talk, and he's into marketing, internet marketing. And I said, well, maybe you could help me. This is what I'm trying to do, and I can't do what I'm doing, and maybe you could help me reach guys. With him in 1 month, we reached 1.5 million people.
Wow.
With him, in a couple of months, we developed a mentorship program. So if you want help from us, you have to take 4 challenges. If you won't take those challenges, we're not helping you, because you're telling me that you don't want help. Because it's like you sitting on the curb and say, could you help me push my car? And you continue to sit on the curb and I'm going to push your car. That ain't happening. You're going to be up there with me on the back of your car pushing it. So that's what we do. And then we need people to help us with this. So to become a mentor, you have to take 9 challenges. And you do these 9 challenges, then you can become a mentor for other people and then become a volunteer from us. Because I want to know who you are, where you're coming from. And then I know, kind of what your agenda is, if it's to help somebody or it's your ego's involved or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And what's really neat, we opened up the mentorship program as a trial, just to work out the bugs and kinks. We had to shut it down in less than an hour because we had 40 people sign up. I tried to mentor 40 people. Don't try it. It's tough. And you don't do it, you're not as effective as you could be. So we worked out the bugs that you can only do like 4 people max. And this way you can really devote the time to them and help them. But with this program, people that volunteered to help, it helps them because all these 9 steps are empowering. We had 2 guys that were going to commit suicide, didn't commit suicide. And almost everybody so far that's taken and done all 9 challenges, it's changed their lives because they've changed the relationship with their families, with their friends, and they start to shift their perception. And that's how you truly help. I don't help you by buying you a beer or a sandwich. I mean, I help you a little bit. I apologize, this phone. Let me show you.
You're fine.
So, but but this way we change lives because we shift perception. I didn't shift your perception with a beer or some money. So, but that's what's neat. I mean, there are times when that's necessary, but for the most part, all of us just need somebody to be there to help us through a rough patch. And it's not that we're broken. Everybody in the world, I used to think I did everything by myself. I can do this. And I went in the woods and lived. But you know what? The clothes I was wearing, somebody made those. I didn't go out there naked. I wear glasses. I lost these glasses. So, my ego was saying, oh, I did. No. Somebody made these glasses or I would have, fallen off a cliff and died, so you don't do anything alone. So, we think that because in the military, we're trained to be the guy you go to for help, not the guy that goes for help. So that's why I was never really able to reach people. But then when we started doing this mentorship program and, making that part of volunteering, then we were able to be effective and really change lives. And that's, to me, that's what's important because, one of the stories, my favorite, that comes to mind at this minute is when I had the shelter. I made an outdoor shower because in the Keys it's hot and you sweat a lot, and and then I used the shower because I'd work out there outside, and I just like outdoor showers, and I did it so any of the guys there could take a shower and get some clean clothes and feel better about himself. So I would go home from there like 5 o'clock and go take care of my mother and come in the next day at 8 in the morning, whenever I come in. So I would go and I come back the next morning. He says, "Oh, one of your friends was here." He said, "He's a friend of yours. He used the shower and he shit in the shower." And I had like 9 guys staying at my shelter. Nobody could clean it. Oh, I'm allergic to this. Oh, I got to, nobody could clean it but me. And I'm furious. I'm scrubbing out this shower. And all I want to do is grab this guy and rub his face in it. So, and he did it again. And nobody else could do it again because they all had, whatever it was, just couldn't do it, And I did it again. And I'm like having this conversation in my head, God, what are you trying to tell me here, And then I got that guy was like me not too many years ago, because I would have broke that shower to tell you couldn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got, we're each on our path. That guy maybe have to sleep in his own puke for a couple of years for him to finally say, you know what? I've had enough of this. I can't live this way anymore. So I realized I wasn't helping anybody. I judged everybody that came into that shelter. Well, you're a drunk, you need to go to A. You're a drug addict, you got to go to NA. Oh, you're a bum, you need a job. You know what? I didn't give them permission to change because I judged them and they had to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So when I accepted that, you know what? This is what you got to do. This is what I'm willing to do to help you. And if you want, fine, but you have to do, this is what I require of you for me to help you. And it's not much. Like our first challenge is, what are you grateful for when you wake up? And what are you grateful for when you go to bed at night? The challenge, yeah.
That really speaks true, because I, as you are aware, I have PTSD. We've discussed, my life and what brought me on the path to doing this show. And, I was talking with someone just the other day about healing and about trying to work through PTSD. And they asked me what the biggest thing was. And I said, there's only one thing that comes to mind, and that's gratitude. If you don't have gratitude, you're never going to move forward, because you're just going to be in self-loathing. So it's very refreshing to hear that from you.
Yeah, well, all of these challenges are self-empowering. Like we had one guy that it took him 2 days to answer the first question, because, when you get out, like I felt I was an unlovable monster and I didn't even go to combat. But I know guys that have been in combat, and I'm sure you have, and they truly believe that, because we go against everything we were taught as we grew up, So now this guy, it took him 2 days to answer that question. This guy had a gun in his mouth. He answered that question, changed his life. And everybody that took that mentorship program, it has changed their life, because they have reached out to somebody in their family that they have been the black sheep to, or burnt a bridge, because that's part of the challenges. And it's humbling when I see some of the transformation and changes that these guys make, and how it passes on, because this one guy helped another guy that had a gun in his mouth. Mm-hmm. So it's like, to me, it's the ultimate pyramid scheme where we help one another to be better.
Now, with your challenges, you've got the 4 challenges to be helped, and then you have the 9 challenges to be a mentor. Do they change, or are they always the same, or are they just?
We've only been doing this for a couple months. It's been a lifetime of me developing these challenges, okay? But the first 4 challenges are part of the 9 challenges. Okay, so you do those, and some guys want to continue on and carry it on and do so. But they're all, and like I said, they're all simple. You can do the first 4 challenges in 2 days. And if you need money or you're desperate, you can do it quick. But, I can tell how desperate you are. If you can't answer the first question, I know you don't really want the money to help you with your car or whatever. You're just, and how we do it is like, like if somebody comes to me that wants financial aid like that, I got to see a copy of their DD-214, and they can cross out their Social Security. I don't care about that. Their bank statement, so I know they don't have $1 million in the bank, and they're, scamming me. And then I need the bill. I need to see the bill. Don't tell me, oh, I owe somebody $500. No, I want to see the bill. And then we pay that person and talk to them directly. And then that's how we do it. And it's been really good. I mean, and I'm the one that makes the decision. So, I had one person, he wanted me to pay for he did the 4 challenges. He wants me to do, his truck was repoed and he's not working. I find out he's not working because, he's home and he's lived 17 minutes away from where he works. I says, well, why don't you get Uber? I mean, he had a million excuses. So I said, I'm not going to pay for your truck. What I will do, though, I will match whatever you put up for another car. So if you want to do that, so that, I don't like cut off the bridge. I mean, I leave the door open, but I'm also, don't smoke me,
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. Okay. Oh yeah. You think it's easy money, but you got to really need it and want it. And if you don't, you're not willing to do anything for it, I'm not willing to do anything for you.
I think people who want to help with your organization, if they're not veterans or anything like that, I think that would definitely bring to them some comfort that, hey, my money's actually going to go to a good cause. It's not going to go for someone just to take advantage of, this system that you've created.
Yeah. Well, what we do too, on the new website we're putting up the end of this year, beginning of next year, we're going to have where you put your money. You can say you want it to go for housing, for auto, counseling, whatever it is, you get to pick the category so that you know exactly where it's going. I mean, and, we're working to be as transparent as humanly possible so that nobody can say, you're doing this with the money. I'm even going to put a category in there for wild parties for the board members. I'm hoping that there's a couple bucks going that so we at least can get some ice cream. But that's where we're going to do it so that, you'll know where your money went. And we're starting to get testimonials because I never did that before, because to me, it was invasive. Because when I walked across the country and I have a mother crying, I don't want to take a picture of this mother crying her heart out over her son.
Yeah.
But, this way we ask if you want to do a testimony after we help you or not. And the testimonials we have from these people, it's like blows my mind. We have a 96-year-old mentor. And she wants to be of service. And that's, that to me is awesome.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you guys pair up with any organizations, is there any, corporate groups helping you? Or are you guys just doing this all on your own, alone and unafraid?
It was all on my own for 14 years on my dime. I spent over 50 grand in cash and 14 years of my time doing this. And what happened, we had, when I had the homeless shelter, we'd taken care of a guy that was 100% disabled, TBI. And he helped me with I would do stuff for the other organizations, like the Sons of Italy they said they'd give us $75 if we helped them move and set up for an event. So we did. And, this Ashley, the guy who was 100% disabled, he helped me. And I said, okay, I'll buy you guys some ice cream if you want. And I'm the only guy that liked that deal. They didn't. But Ashley says, well, I says, well, I'd like to go to the Caribbean Club, and it's a bar. And I know he doesn't drink because if he drank with his medication, he would die. So he doesn't drink. So I said, oh, okay, I'll give you $5 to go to that. He says, well, could you give me 20? He says, and I'll give you half of the winnings I get for playing pool. And I says, okay. So I give him $20 and I figured, well, I just kissed that $20 goodbye. Well, the next morning I go in and it takes Ashley a while to get out because on the medication he's on, when he gets up, he's like in a fog and his ears hurt and he sees down the tunnel. So it takes him like an hour to 2 hours to be functional. And so he comes to me and he hands me $100 bill. And he says, this is half of my winnings. And there's going to be a guy come here and give you a check for $5,000. And I'm thinking, my God, this guy can really play pool. And I'm thinking, maybe he's just smoking me because guys with TBI, they can be a little over the top sometimes. So I figured, okay, well, in the afternoon, this guy comes by, gives me a check for $5,000. What happened in the bar, this father took his son to Florida on a vacation because his son just got out of the military. He wanted to bond with his son after he got discharged. They go into this bar. The son gets drunk. He's angry, which we can all understand that. So he's angry. He gets into an altercation with the locals. Ashley steps in, saves the kid from getting knifed and maybe killed. And the father is so grateful, he comes and gives us $5,000. Well, the father, I find out later, is the head of a foundation. And he says, if you ever need anything, call me up. So I say, okay, and I stay in touch with him. And I don't, I think I asked him for money once and he gave me some money. And then when the Corona hit, because I still stayed in touch with him, I said, Corona, I'm not really sure what to do. And I'm writing a book about, my walks and my life experience to get me here. But he says, well, could you use any money? I says, I wouldn't know what to do with it. But when I figure something out, I'll let you know. He says, well, could you use $20,000 to write the book? I said, sure. So he sends me a check for $20,000. And I talking with him. He says, I'm head of the Graham Foundation now. And you're my pet project. And he says, I want to make you sustainable because you're a one-man show. So I've hired some people to work with you so you get your not-for-profit paperwork all in line, you get all the insurance, you get everything you need. So he hired those people. They gave me a big education. They made it so now I understand, because I didn't really understand the board of directors and the staff. But they explained it to me, so I understood it. And he said, and tell me how much money you need. He says, well, and I gave him we need $40,000. And so he gave me 45. He says, you didn't ask for enough money. So then he had these people that he hired to help me put together a budget. He says, and he kind of argued with me for 2 months to take a salary. Because I never felt I deserved it. Mm-hmm. But he said to me, he says, you're not going to live forever. When you die, who is going to work for nothing and do all that you do? He says, you have to take a salary or this won't go on, because nobody's going to do what you do for nothing. Mm-hmm. Unless you find some Pollock out there that's as crazy as you. So I took a salary of $36,000 a year, which now I can go to the movies and eat ice cream as much as I want, because I was living on $1,000 a month Social Security and doing all of this.
Wow.
So, I can be pretty frugal, I got to tell you. So, but, I was passionate and I just felt it was wrong, but he made me understand that it's a job what you do, but I don't look at it as a job. This is my life. This is my passion. Mm-hmm. But I knew with this kid that I had that helped me to reach 1.5 million people, I told the kid, what would it take to get you? Because I don't want to lose you. Mm-hmm. So he says, well, could you give me $23,000 a year? I says, I'll do better than that for you, because I do not want to lose you. So he gets $36,000 a year. And the kid works 7 days a week, like me, but he works longer hours than me. I get up at 6 and start. He gets up later than me. but he works later into the night. I quit after a certain time, but it's awesome. So, so now we have a staff. So now that we have more energy to put into it longer out, because there was only so much I could do by myself, trying to do everything I do, and then this on top of it, So it's been really awesome. And we do events, and that's a way to reach guys, and also, to meet your peers and to have fun and do different things,
Absolutely. And that's, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, you have your website, thelongwalkhome.org. Do you have any other social media or anything?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, and it's Military to Civilian Life. And what's really cool, that's interactive. So guys will go on that and help one another out. So let's say, you live in New York and I live in New York, and you have a problem, or you have an issue like with post-traumatic stress, and you'll say, how do you deal with it when, you hear this noise, or, somebody, gets on your case, and you say, well, this is what I do. So it's really awesome because they share and help one another. It's really interactive, and we're, like I said, in the next month, we'll have the mentorship program streamlined, and then that's when we're going to actively go for more volunteers to really get this thing going. Because I have
excellent.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm happy.
What I'm going to do for the fans of our show, they all know that we have our Facebook group, Veteran Nation, in Facebook. What I'll do is I'll get that a link to the group, and I'll make sure I post it there, and also make sure that I get it posted onto our NRN Plus landing page, so that we can support you, get everything out there as best as we can.
Yeah, and you're going to edit this and make me look good and cut out all the, whatever you guys do,
We'll do some slight editing, not too big of things, because you have a great organization, you have a great story. I really do appreciate you coming on, because when I heard about your organization, I was intrigued, but then after talking with you, I was like, wow, this is absolutely the type of group and the type of people that we want on this show, because so many people out there are looking for assistance, and have been through the same thing that you and I have been through. So, great minds think alike.
Yeah, well, what's neat, we have a guy, one of the guys that's, I met through our Facebook page. He's an administrator in the VA. So he says, you have a problem, you come to me. So he helps me with the wording, because he can pull up their record and say, oh, this is what you got to do for this guy. This is what we can do. This is, so we have a lot of great support to help people with anything, it's awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to make sure that I have you back on your show after your book is published, because we want to make sure that we're helping you sell some books and get your story told. But anytime you want to come back here, if you have someone.
Okay, you just went deaf on me. You went mute.
Oh,
yeah.
Hold on here. Let me try one thing.
Well, I can hear you now.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm honored that, that you guys even have me on and will help us out. Because we don't look at what we did yesterday. What are we doing today?
It looks like we're having a couple audio issues, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out, and I'll do a exit, and I'll make sure I hit all your plugs again. But thank you again for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Have a great Christmas.
Thank you. You too.